I did like clear my cache and then delete some storage because like I uploaded it right, and when I clicked on the video, it was the full hour 30 or whatever. Hello, Jimmy J. Jack and is hyped as well. And it just uploaded 40 minutes to YouTube. And so I was pissed. And so I had to re-upload and like clear space and redo it. And so there were some troubles, unfortunately. A lot of people hyped for this game. A lot of people getting up for it. Celtics Sixers always a good one. Important for the standings. Unfortunately, the Celtics are very, very not healthy. I'll put the injury report in the chat as we do fist bumps with Lewis, legend. Lewis, the full pod is up, by the way. I saw your comment. We got that fixed. My computer was bugging out. Pasting the injury report in the chat here. Robert Williams. There we go. Hello, elevator owners. Jay. Everyone's hype. Francisco, more fist bumps in the chat. Dave, the legend, is here. My dad is here. Fist bumps all over the place. We love to see it. And this is the injury report you're looking at tonight. In addition to Danilo Gallinari, Smart, Horford, and Rob all out for a game with Embiid. Embiid is questionable though. He was a game time decision from what I saw on Twitter. Johnny Corrales just tweeted that he took the floor to warm up, but we still don't know officially. So Brian, we don't really know if Embiid is playing yet. I would hazard a guess to yes. Because he was warming up, but I know Doc said pregame. I saw on Twitter that it was a game time decision for Embiid, so I'm not sure 100%.
What is he dealing with?
I don't know. I didn't see the actual comments. I just saw some people report that he's game time decision. So I'm not exactly sure what it will be exactly, but we'll have to see what happens. Lewis, Matt. Everyone in the chat, fist bumps. Appreciate y'all watching from Florida. Hello, Dennis. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you. Hello, Drew. Pop in chat tonight, catching up on the messages here. Jimmy J's expecting a Blake start. I'd probably hazard a guess at a Luke start.
Just to take the size.
Yeah, my thing is like when Blake was getting all those starts, you had the Warriors, the Clippers, and I know the Clippers play kind of big with Zubac, but Embiid. If you're asking me who I'm more comfortable starting against Embiid, Luke Cornett or Blake Griffin, it's Luke by a million miles. Like it's not particularly close. Hello, Drew. Fist bump in the chat. Just that. Jimmy J saying Grant can earn his 18 mil tonight. Grant can guard Embiid too. I mean, that's definitely helping as well. Judah saying Blake is tougher. Maybe, but like I think Luke's the better defender by a pretty wide margin, in my opinion. Am I crazy, Tim?
I don't think you're crazy. I mean, I think
defender at the very least, like
well, and also like I think something that Brad Stevens really likes about Luke Cornett's game specifically is his ability to defend the pick and roll for a guy his size. So I think just because of his size alone, like his length is going to allow him to be a better defender. And I mean, Blake, to be fair,
he's fine.
He's serviceable at his age, and considering like how his athleticism has taken a dip, you take what you can get from him, but it fell. But no, I just don't. No, Luke's the better defender because he's a little bit younger. He's a better shape. Even before Blake, started aging and his athleticism started to take. Defender. No, exactly. So like even Cornett's he's fitting well for what you're getting from him. So good. And I agree with that, Jack. And I think Blake uses his body, Cornett uses his length, and that's a really good way to look at things because I think Cornett will like catch a body, unfortunately, whether he wants to or not. Like
which you respect. I respect. At least he's willing to go out there.
He'll take the body.
Predicting starting lineup here, predicting White, Brown, Tatum, Grant, Luke. That's what I would assume as well. There's a chance they could roll with Blake, but I don't know. I just like to see them not do that.
But this ties. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, no, you go ahead. I think I know what you're bringing up, so I'll let you go.
Yeah, do you? Yeah. Let's see.
Maybe is it the trade thing today?
Well, yes, it's all of the trade stuff.
We don't, Brian. We've looked into.
We don't.
Well, once we grow a little larger, but we don't.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be down. I think so. The stuff with everything with Pirtle seems to actually have legitimate traction, and I know. Look, because someone joked about it. Let's pivot a little bit here because it does tie into the trade talks today, and including all of the injury stuff too. Like it ties into all of this stuff going into the deadline.
Mm-hmm.
Grant wanting 18 to 20 million right now.
It's a lot.
After this stretch of play. Look, I think going into the season, I was like, I think you max out around 18 million. 20 million is like
Sure.
absolutely pushing it. And like, if he has a great season, okay. Now, I think he's lucky if he gets 18. Like really,
I think.
really,
Well,
really lucky. His
my
play
thing
has
is,
taken a massive dip. He
he's
has
been
been
playing bad.
struggling bad.
I think I agree that he's been struggling. I think a lot of people are overreacting to what is it, like a couple weeks now of a rough Grant play. Like, and I understand the concern because it is a contract year, but like, let's like, I see a lot of people on Twitter saying like, I saw one comment. It's like the Celtics depending on Grant Williams to defend Giannis. Like, let's not act like he hasn't been one of the best defenders on Giannis over the past 2
There's
years.
nothing wrong with
Like
that, man.
people are
Absolutely not.
taking the last 2 weeks and expanding it into Grant is bad. Right? Like that's not what's happening. And like Grant can have a rough stretch. Like, let's say Tatum just shoots really poorly for a couple weeks, maybe similar to what he's doing. No one's saying like, Jaylen Brown's the first option now. Like, I'm not going to make the comparison of, people are saying trade Tatum because there's levels, but no one's saying like Jaylen Brown needs to be the first option now. Jayson Tatum needs to be cut. Like, no one's doing that overreaction because they know what he can do. Like, just because Grant is having a rough couple weeks, I don't think means he is bad. His value is this. That being said, the possibility of trading Grant is like, it's real and it's become real. And as much as I do love Grant, like, it's hard for me to sit here and say you absolutely cannot trade Grant. Like, because you can trade Grant, right?
I'm
If you
not
don't want to
laughing
pay
at
him,
you.
but
Yeah.
what do you?
No, I
what are
get
you
it. I'm
looking at?
just like people getting mad at Bobby. Hey, Bobby Manning's
that
a
is funny.
sweetheart. He's a good guy.
Love Bobby.
Be
Friend of the
nice. Be
show.
nice. Yes.
But actually, we talked about the Grant trade possibilities on the podcast, which dropped today. Go check it out. The full one is finally up on the show, and we came up with 10 different trade packages for Grant. So I don't. If you want to react to it, we can pull them up.
By all means, pull them up, and I'll give my thoughts on a couple things because
you're more than willing to crap on them as well.
I
Like,
think
we're gonna take no offense.
The Tatum thing, like the comparison there, I think is just it's a little apples to oranges, just because
I know.
And I get what you're
extreme
saying. Like,
example.
if another player is struggling, like that's one thing. I think, look, for Grant to be going into a contract year, like you're going into this offseason looking for a lot of money, and it is well recorded what you want in terms of figures. Like, you're asking for $18 to $20 million.
It's a lot.
That's great.
It's
a lot of money. It's a lot of money. And then all of a sudden now it's like, yeah, actually I want a bigger role and I want to start. You cannot say that. You cannot say that and then play like this.
Well,
like they are devastated by injuries right now, and you're not stepping up. So what the hell? Like,
the context I brought, and again, I stand by that. Everyone has a rough couple weeks. Is it bad timing for his rough couple weeks? Absolutely, but like shit
super
happens,
bad timing.
Right? It sucks. The context I had last night was shoot. Oh my god, it just slipped my head. I just had it in my head. I'm not gonna be able to remember this now. Oh, yes. In the context of the Celtics, Grant is not worth $18 million, right? Because in the context of the Celtics, you're asking him to be the 8th man in the rotation. You're asking him to, play that role, and he's going to be what, the 5th, 6th scoring option on the team, right? That's not $18 million. For a team like the Pacers or the Pistons, where he's going to be the starting power forward, where he's going to be, a larger role in the offense, then you can make the argument that team can pay him $18 million. Can that team be the Celtics with the way the roster is constructed? That's, I think, where you run into he's not worth that. So I don't think it is Grant Williams can't be worth $18 million. I think it is Grant Williams in the situation on the Celtics probably isn't worth $18 million. That's the context I believe.
I don't think the number is a problem if he's playing up to what he needs to play up to.
Sure,
like,
even
I think,
that, yeah.
And if he wants a bigger role, like that's fine. Like, I actually don't think that.
I think he is. This is the context I was adding, Landon. I think on the right team, he's worth that. And I think the Celtics should match $18 million, but I think it is also like
that's the cap.
There is a necessary context to it as well.
Well, and also I think it gets a little bit easier when you're looking at the situation with Al Horford being under contract now. Like, but a lot of green goggles in Boston. I think that's totally fair. Yeah, but that again, that goes back to it, Lewis. Like, you have to be able to upgrade. Like, you don't just make the trade to make the trade. Like, it has to be someone who is under contract a little bit longer.
And we have some options here. We'll go over in a second. It is Blake Griffin starting, by the way.
Yeah. Well, look at that. Who called it in the chat? Who called it in the chat? Was it Landon who called that? Might have been Jack.
Jimmy J had it almost, but he had Cornette over Blake.
Oh, no, I thought someone else said that Griffin was going to start. That might have been Landon. Whoever it was who called Blake starting. I don't want to sift through the comments to find it, but I want to give you credit.
Embiid is playing, by the way, for Phil.
Oh, it's going to suck. Oh, man, it's going to suck. So my issue with the whole Grant thing is just not only are you struggling right now, but you're not you're I think between the ref stuff and the struggling and then just the insistence of not not playing up to what your expectations are. There's one thing if he was struggling offensively, but he was doing all of the other stuff, that would be fine. But he's not been looking great defensively. And I mean, you kind of started in that Pistons game too, where Celtics had a lead. He goes onto the floor and it just magically just goes away. And it's struggling and it's frustrating. I think a lot of people get frustrated about this because you know what he's capable of doing. And I really like Grant. I really do. And I think he's a really good locker room guy. I think he's a good glue guy. But I think you pile all that stuff together and you have a decent argument to move him when you talk about that pay. And I think, the interest in Pirtle is the interest in Pirtle is interesting because you can either pay him or pay Grant, or it could turn into a sign and trade situation, which I think is totally realistic. Or there's going to be something coming out of left field, like Raptors were interested in Pirtle. All I'm saying is, like, people talking about OG Anunoby, if you could somehow make something magical happen with the three-teamer, that would be
That's
super
on our
cool.
list. Yeah.
And I think that would be awesome. I think that's a trade that, like, no one's talking about, which makes me think that there might be something there just because
Mhm.
Brad Stevens moves in silence. You do not hear him talk about making deals until it's already happened. And I think the only instance where I would say there are something pointing towards this Pearl news is, like, you've got major players saying that, like, the interest is real. And, you had Fisher come out today, report that they're trying to package together Pritchard and Gallinari. You saw the Pritchard article drop saying he wants a bigger role, so on and so forth. This is now like the second think piece we've seen on Pritchard saying, I want a bigger role. Like,
Yeah.
he's gone. Like, it would be really surprising to me if he was here past the deadline. I just don't see it.
Maybe. I don't know. I feel like a lot of that talk is for the offseason, which is potential. Catching up in the chat. For the Grant thing as well. I understand that it's like my biggest thing is I just think it's bad timing because like this wasn't even a conversation a month ago, right? Like no one was even talking about the possibility of talking Grant. It was all just pay Grant. He's playing great because he was having a career season, like phenomenal year before a month ago, and then like you said, he started struggling on defense a little bit. The offense hasn't been there. Like things have looked down a little bit, and so I think that timing is really hurting as well. But at the same time, you have someone in here saying, "Yep, no Time Lord now. Who will be guarding Embiid? Blake." If Grant Williams guards Embiid well tonight, everyone shuts up. I think. Like I genuinely think like it is a lot of reactionary stuff. And again, I understand the context of wanting to trade Grant if you don't want to give him the role that he's asking for, and the refs thing is bad as well. Like I totally agree with that. And my clear favoritism for Grant is obvious there. But like I just think there's some context, but I do have these trades if you want to take a look at them.
Let's hear
And
the
we can
trades,
have
and
the
then
chat react as
there's a
well.
clip that we could play from NBC Sports Boston with KOC.
I saw that as well.
Okay, in
Yes.
Washburn, both of those guys I really like. So, all right, see what we
These
got.
are some of the deals. So Sam had the just keep Grant line, which is, I'd rather just keep Grant and ride it out for the rest of the season. And then these were the 10 trades that I came up with that I pitched him. And obviously there's some added context, like Pritchard might have to be in some of them, like the OG ones, some extra picks might have to be coming Celtics way or the other team's way in some of them, but like the general frameworks of who the Celtics would guess. And these were Sam's rankings of the deals that we came up with. So these were some of the deals.
It's tough.
And we try to keep it realistic too. Like we
I
weren't going
like
to say, "Oh, let's go get Shea Gilgeous-Alexander." Like we're not going to.
Yeah, no, I mean, also, like, 1, poison pills, 2, not
Of course.
happening, 3, not happening. So I like Najee Marshall and Jackson Hayes. I like Sadiq Bey and Hamidou Diallo. I really like Caleb Martin and Max Strus. Pat Connaughton would also be a good pickup there. Plus, you've got home ties there with Connaughton, so that's always cool.
And you saw, sorry, not to cut you off, Brad Stevens or Keith Smith reporting that Brad Stevens would consider trading Grant for a player of similar value on a longer term deal. So like the added context here would be OG is under contract for a little while, Caruso is under contract for a little while, Javonte Green is not. But then you get down to the Seth
Javonte's
Curry,
on easy money. You could go ahead and absorb him into a TPE, and that wouldn't be a problem. So that's also something too.
And then the reason Sam had like number 6 and 8 down there because like those guys are on 1-year deals, so like the Celtics would have a tougher time keeping them around. But so that was also
you get the bird rights too, and they'll probably be going on cheaper money there. but OG would be interesting. And I think
Mm-hmm.
I've got a couple mutuals who are talking about it on Twitter, and I tend to agree with this notion. And I brought up the point of with OG Anunoby specifically. Look, I really, really like OG Anunoby. Like he's a killer for one. Really good player for the Raps. We will talk about Mo Bamba in a second,
Yeah.
Brian. I definitely think that's worth addressing, of course.
Judah saying 1 and 6. That's about it.
Yeah, and I think that's totally fair. I think that's pretty fair. I don't know. I would only worry about the guard depth there if you're going for Curry, just because it's a lot of money for Curry, and I feel like if they're going to make a move like that, it needs to be more substantial.
If you're going to get a guard, it's got to be like a Caruso. Like they got to be able to defend and play the wing and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think with Anunoby, like if you're going to pay Grant in that ballpark, like that's roughly what OG is getting right now. And who would you like?
The added context,
gun pulled
you'd have
to your
to throw
head, would
people
you?
In.
Yeah,
OG gun to the head, absolutely.
And that's what I'm saying is like, look, if you're able to pay Grant that money versus like pulling off a trade to get OG Anunoby for that same figure, then you go for OG Anunoby. And I think he ties that group together. He's having a breakout season with the Raps. He's looked really solid. I haven't been following them recently, but like he started off the year very, very hot. And obviously they're at this weird crossroads where do we retool? Do we do like a full like, break it down to the freaking foundation rebuild?
Yeah.
So they've got a lot of stuff to figure out there with Toronto, and it pretty much everyone seems to be watching the Raptors, right? Like everyone's like, what are the Raptors doing at the trade deadline? So that gets complicated, but who knows? That is interesting though, and a couple of these trades I really do like. I don't know how I feel about a Mo Bamba deal. I know Keith Smith is not a fan. I don't hate the numbers. His numbers aren't bad, but again, I'm not watching a lot of him, and he's not getting into the rotation on a team that is very much rebuilding. And he's got a big cap hit for what he is. He's got there's a lot of money there.
I agree. My thing is, I don't think they should trade for a big man in the first place. And we've talked about this a million times on this pregame show. I'd rather them go for a wing, or at the very least, like a forward that can play down the wing a little bit and play alongside Rob now. The Pirtle thing is one thing. Pirtle definitely can't play next to Rob. I don't think that's a good fit at all. I don't think he can play well next to Al. You can see it a little bit because of Al's shooting, but like, let's not act like Al's, last year, even, or 5 years ago, Al, or even last year, Al, where he's quick enough to make up for Pirtle on the perimeter. Like the reason him and Rob fit together is because Rob's so athletic. Pirtle's phenomenal player. He's not athletic. Like that's one, like uncheck that box. So for like Mo Bamba, the shooting is sure there, but like everyone remembers Mo Bamba as this, Sheck West song coming out of Texas, where he's like blocking shots and hitting threes. He got displaced by Bol in the rotation, who's good. He got displaced by Mo Wagner in the rotation in Orlando. Like he's not like great. He's not good. He's not that good of a player. Would he help the Celtics? Maybe. Lewis is gonna hate me. I'd rather play Luke Cornett. Hate me.
Yeah, but look,
absolutely. Even added context before you go, I'd rather play Luke Cornett for $1 million than Mo Bamba for 10 and give up Peyton Pritchard. Like that context is important too.
I think that's also important. Yeah, I think if you're looking to try and pull any kind of deal, you have to consider that. I think specifically for Bamba, just a massive contract. I'm concerned about his attitude. Just because the energy is weird. Okay. And right as we're on the call, we've got Raptors and Spurs continue to discuss trade scenarios that would land in-demand big man Jakob Poeltl back with Toronto, which again, I think this is why the Celtics if the Celtics are in on that rumor, I think it is in order to go ahead and try and pull a deal for OG. I think if they're going to do anything.
Where'd you see that? Who tweeted that?
Mark Stein did. It looks like it's on his Substack, which of course
I have a Substack.
Okay, well pull it up, man. Let's get some juice on that one. I do find it interesting that you see both Rob and Al tonight both not playing. That really sucks in terms of going into the deadline, not knowing really what you have with your big man spot. And I think that's really where the conversation of do they need a big man really ends, because they clearly do. You're looking at fragility here. And I think that's where, if you're looking long-term and you actually want to keep Grant around, you could make the argument that he becomes your starting forward. Al moves to the bench and is your second center. And I think that's totally reasonable. And maybe that's something that the Celtics were considering. I know he's kind of been labeled as that upcoming,
Sorry, I'm reading
power
the chat.
placement.
I understand, Tim. I know you're not the biggest Luke guy, but I mean, this is ridiculous. Like,
I don't think
come
he
on,
would be waived.
guys.
I think if there were a better option
He's
out there, then
saying
they
Luke
would have.
wouldn't make any other NBA team. Like, let's not act like Luke isn't a great third string center. You guys are just
He's
expecting
solid.
him.
We gotta.
I think me and Sam did this. We
Terminology
did
is
this.
important. The way we
I
phrase
no.
things is important. It's not
I
what
know
you're saying;
exactly
it's
what I
how
said.
you say it. He's saying
I know exactly what I said. He's
saying
a
someone is a
great third
great.
string center.
I think he's really
great
solid.
for what he is.
He is serviceable, and I think that is a really nice way to put things.
I stand by what I said.
All right, man.
I
just
absolutely
saying.
stand by what I said. He's a great third string
Serviceable.
center. Sam and I looked at an entire list of third string centers on a pod like a while ago after Luke was playing well. Like,
I would also
I
make a
think we're forgetting
counterpoint
the
of
context
like
third string centers.
unless we're looking like really, really, really specific stats. You have to also consider his stats are going to look better because he's on a really good team. Like
Sure.
everyone's stats is like as a whole are going to be skewed because they're on the even with this slump that they're kind of in right now.
Sure.
Like
And
still the best team in the NBA.
Even if I was to go down to what you're saying, like I'm clearly higher on him than you are. People saying that, like people hating on him, calling him Luke the Puke. Like, what are you guys expecting from him? Like, I don't understand the context.
He's a third string center.
It just doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand the hate. Like, out of all the players on the Celtics to hate, you're picking a guy who like if anything, like that's rude.
You slay me, man.
That's rude. If anything, like you could pick out, and this is obviously the added, there's context that he doesn't play as much as other guys, but like when Luke is on the floor, like I probably see like some of the least mistakes out of Luke Cornett, right? And that's just because he's not asked to do much, but like it's not like he's out there like fumbling the bag every night. Like he's good. Whatever. We don't have to talk about it. I do have, excuse me, the blurb about Pirtle from Mark Stein. I'll read it here. Further complicating matters when trying to assess Toronto's intentions. There were some fresh rumbles this week that it had explored packaging Trent and some level of draft compensation to San Antonio for Jakob Pirtle. That's a move that would make you try to move up the Eastern Conference ladder, not down. The Raptors, for the record, don't seem to mind the confusion they're generating. After frequent mentions in recent weeks of Boston and Toronto coveting the Spurs center, sources say Washington is another team that has registered interest in Pirtle. There did not appear to be a deal between the Wizards and Spurs as of Wednesday morning, but Pirtle remains one of the key figures to watch in terms of needle movers at this time. So there you go. Also, for in regard to Anunoby, Raptors have expressed confidence to some inquiring teams that they can acquire 3 future firsts for Anunoby, but from whom? Lots of teams interested in him as well. Memphis, New Orleans, New York, Indiana, Phoenix, all interested, and Brooklyn, I know as well. So we shall see. We'll have to see.
Interesting. So I had something that popped in here that I thought was interesting. Jack, and I understand what you're saying is that they're trying to rest him. But of all games to decide, like, they're going to give them days off.
I don't know if this is
not the game to do this.
Yeah,
I do not think this is a rest game. Absolutely not. No, because you're going against a team that's closer to you in the standings against a really tough opponent in Joel Embiid. Like, I don't think that is, Al Horford having knee swelling is a little concerning. Rob was already dealing with stuff.
Yeah.
He was sick going into that Lakers game. Then he had the left ankle sprain or whatever. And so they've kind of been dealing with that. But all jokes aside, I think it's going to be an interesting trade deadline. I know everyone was freaking out earlier with Twitter melting down. Like Twitter's down and everyone's like, how am I supposed to get my alerts?
Yeah, that was messed up.
I was freaking out.
He's just injury prone.
That's the problem.
It's tough. And I mean, hey, that's why he's on the contract he's on. Because if he wasn't injury prone, he'd be $20 million+ player at the very least. So there is that. Judah saying Celtics need this win. Rest is for after the break. That's why I don't think it's rest. Tim was saying it too. Like I genuinely think just they have stuff that's bothering them, and it sucks that it happened to be this game. But I'll put it this way. If there is something that's bothered them, I'd rather them sit this game than miss games in April. Like I stand by that statement. Like I say that every time someone gets injured. Like it sucks that it happened against this Sixers game, but I don't know. That is what it is. Brian asking, how long into the future will Gobert trade taint the trade market? Probably a while. especially if teams are willing. Like the OG Anunoby thing, I kind of get because the Raptors don't really have to trade him, so they have all the leverage and that sort of thing to ask for whatever they want. Because like you could very well see Toronto like carry OG into the summertime and just trade him them instead. So like if the team wants to pry him from them now, like it makes sense, to ask for a high demand. Yeah.
I think
That's my thing.
The Kyrie trade kind of reset the market a little bit there. I think to an extent, I think contract
I think
control is
that was
important, but
I think that was a very niche situation though, because like
yeah,
the difference is like I said, Toronto has all the leverage. Brooklyn had zero. Brooklyn had no leverage because Kyrie made it abundantly clear to the public that he was leaving in free agency, meaning the Nets had to trade him. And in their defense, I think they got a pretty good package in return for Kyrie, considering the circumstances, which is good. Jay Cruz saying Grant for PJ Washington.
I saw
Uh,
someone. So I have a mutual, and I don't know where
Barf.
the.
I don't like.
Yeah, well,
I don't like.
I don't think there's any truth to it.
I also think
It's
PJ
sauce this
Washington
season.
PJ Washington's going to be asking for like 15 plus mil, I think as well. And I think he'll get it somewhere too, as much as he disagreed or like it. Like I'm not saying that's what I would pay him if I was a GM, but like I think that's what's going to be the market for him. He's having a good year for a very bad team, but still. Landon asking where Sam. Sam is at the game, so he will be there watching Embiid play the fellas. Hey, you guys can hate on Luke Cornett all you want. It's better than Ennis Freedom. It's better than Ennis Freedom. Lewis saying Jack isn't realistic with his team. He loves them all. This isn't true. I mean, I remember a couple months ago when I said something bad about Jaylen Brown, and you guys all yelled at me. So make up your minds. Let's pick a side here, fellas. No, like I don't like saying he loves them all. I just think they've played well this season, and I don't think that's a bad thing to say. Like I admit Grant's played bad. He has been bad for a month now, and that's not good. I just also understand the long-term context, and that's my opinion. I think Jaylen Brown has struggled a lot at times this season. I think Jayson Tatum needs to stop chucking 10 threes a game. It's ridiculous. It's not good. We can go down the line. I can give you plenty of other things. Malcolm Brogdon turned the ball over a million times. I love Derek White. Everyone knows that. Derek White was letting Jalen Brunson get by him every other play against the Knicks, right? Like there's plenty of criticisms. But
I think this is where
like,
you really miss Marcus Smart, and I think that's kind of
absolutely.
that's what's been really hurting them going into the deadline,
But I love him too
especially.
much, Lewis, so I should probably just shit talk him.
Look, I think missing Marcus Smart right now in terms of how the offense has been flowing is very evident. And I think this
Mhm.
is where I all of these minutes are kind of just compounding. So, Rob having issues, Al not playing the second leg of back to backs. You've got
I
both
don't get
Jalen and
this.
Jayson playing massive minutes.
They're the title favorites right now, Lewis.
Yeah.
They're
I
like
well, and I don't. So I agree that there needs to be minor tweaking. We're not talking about like earth shattering differences, but I think they're missing the depth that they need at the wing spot. Because right now, like who's your third small forward on the
I've said
roster?
this, and I've said
It's
I
Sam
think they should
Hauser.
target a wing.
It's Sam Hauser. No, I think they need a wing and they need a big. That's kind of just what's
watch the
been expected.
games. Lewis, they have the best record in the NBA, man. And I agree
They've
with
been
you that there's
struggling
issues.
recently.
There
It's
are
like they're
issues.
gassed. They're gassed, and it's
Absolutely. But like
compounding. I think that's what it is. That
people recency bias. I think this is recency bias. And I can understand the struggles and I can understand the
sharpshooter,
need for helps in certain things.
sharpshooter.
Like
It
not
helps that
the
Sam's been
not the
better.
record.
Sam's been better lately.
What do you think I do, Lewis? Like I'm not like I do watch the games. The Pistons game, the fourth quarter was bad. We need a big wing 3-4. I said this. They were
I
bad
agree
against
with
the
that.
Suns. Suns was bad. Pistons was bad in the fourth quarter. They played well outside of that. Obviously, those Knicks, Magic, and Heat games were bad. The Lakers game was bad. They've played bad lately, but that doesn't mean like they're automatically the worst team in the league, right? Like
They need playable bodies. They need. I refer to this a lot, but
good thing we're not in April, Lewis. Good thing it's February.
floor. You need floor raisers, and that's the way I look
Sure.
at it. You need players that have high floors that are going to come in and fill out your bench, and they've gotten a lot of guys to do that. Now it's just like minor things where it's like, hey, we have to worry about Rob. We got to worry about Al's minutes. We have to worry about the fact that we're like playing Jayson and Jalen into the ground right now. Their minutes workload is massive, and especially
I
Tatum.
said this, and I agreed. And I said they could look at the buyout market. I think they should maybe go for a wing in the trade market. But then you didn't acknowledge that. You just acknowledged when I said good things and got mad
All
at me.
right, simmer down. I think
Going
I
anywhere.
think I think a buyout would be good. I think there's someone that they could target. Will Barton's already been tied to them, and they haven't even started doing buyouts yet. So I think that makes a lot of sense. Eric Gordon was one that got tied today. Could potentially be another buyout candidate. I like that one, but I think I would like Barton more, a little bit younger.
And who?
Um,
Sorry, what was the other one you said?
Eric Gordon.
Oh yes, Spartan
Y-
over Gordon.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. I don't know.
I love you
Gordon's
too,
been in a
though. So don't
really
worry.
bad. Love you
I love
guys.
you too.
Gordon's been stuck in a really bad Houston team for a few years now.
Yeah.
So I want to see what he could do in a winning situation. But
hmm
at the same time, like the fact that nothing else has really changed with that is interesting to me. But
Judah saying trade Pritchard. Y'all talking about Grant, who helps us get to the finals. I agree with you. I think Grant's super important to this team when he's at his best, right? And that's the key when he's at his best because he's struggled lately. Um, and I think Brad will probably explore options. I still stand by the fact I don't think the Celtics will make a move unless it's, one of these small things. You heard a lot of rumblings that they might want to use that TPE. So you could see something small like I don't know, like a Naz Reid, a Matisse Thybulle, like something very small. Those were just example names for salary. I'm not saying that's who the Celtics could target, but like, I'm not sure. Andrew saying nobody wants PP. I don't think that can be further
I
from the truth.
disagree. I
I
disagree
think a
with
lot
that
of people want
heavily. There's a
PP.
lot of I mean, look, all I'm gonna say is this is that all of a sudden today we've got Pritchard and Gallinari are gonna get
Yeah,
cobbled together. And for a while there, I
possible.
thought that they weren't gonna do anything because, Gallinari, the optics of it, but
This is
he's
true
one
as
of their
well.
larger salaries that's movable that he's not playing. It's a different thing
Mhm.
if you were healthy and like that sucks. Maybe it's something where down the line he comes back, maybe next year, second year player option, who knows? But it really sucks because he wanted to be here, got hurt, and now it's like
Mhm.
you have to make a move to win a championship. And if it's if they trade him and it ends in a title, then I really don't care about what the optics are there. Like
Yeah.
you won a title, and I don't think anyone's going to look at that and go foo foo on it because how many teams have traded guys who are hurt? And this is a situation where you need to improve this roster on the perimeter, um, both literally and figuratively. And there's only going to be one way to do that, and that means moving some of these salaries and aggregating some stuff and cobbling it all together. And if Pritchard is the thing that's going to happen, so be it. But we've seen multiple articles come out now saying that he basically isn't happy. So take that for what you will. But I think that means he's gone, and it sucks. But that's kind of what it is. And Grant, I would love to pay. I would love to pay Grant if he were playing a little bit better. And that
I still think
I
you pay
don't think
Grant. I think you
I,
pay
I think
Grant.
you pay
And
Grant if there's not another option, which is why again, if you're able to go out and get something, even if it means again adding together like 4-player salaries to go out and get like a real deal difference maker, you need someone who can be starter level. And right now, Grant is
right now, though, like I just can't agree with you because we're talking about the last
he's
month. Like
waffling. He's waffling.
for
Look,
a month, Like I'm
that's a
sorry. I'm
long.
sorry.
It's a long
I'm
time.
trying.
You're looking at it through Grant
You
goggles.
know
I
what's a
get it.
longer time? The entire rest of the season. Like I just disagree. That's what it is. I just disagree. I understand. Like he's been bad. He's absolutely been bad.
You
But
can't play like that and then have like stuff come out about you saying like I want a bigger role, I want to be a starter, I want like $20 million a year, and it's like all
I
right,
don't know.
bud, like sure you do, like good
I don't
luck,
think that's coming
best
from
of
him
luck,
though. I
bud.
think that's just like the general thing. If I had to we don't know the context of where that's coming from either. I just completely disagree with the concept of the last month should completely determine what Grants gets paid because that just doesn't make sense to me.
No,
That
but
just
I think
that's a bit too much.
if you compound that with his entire thing where he's been pardon my language, he's been pissing and moaning the entire year to refs, and it's
He
been a
complains to
bad
the
look.
refs too much. That's a problem.
It
Yeah.
is costing the Celtics games. I'm telling you that right
Well,
now. It absolutely is impacting how refs are calling games with the Celtics. We
okay.
know
Well, if we're
this.
gonna complain about Grant, then you have to also complain about Jason Tatum too.
Completely different story. Yes, I agree Tatum complains too much, but he is actually a superstar. There's a complete difference when you complain to the refs and you're a freaking role player. If PJ Tucker complained as much as Grant was, like he'd be getting clowned.
He
That's what
does
it
complain
is.
a lot. JJ Tucker
Yeah,
does
and he
complain a
gets
lot.
yeah, but he's a veteran at this point, right?
Yes,
There's
yes.
a certain level that gets to it.
All
Like
righty.
I
Game
just
is about to start though, so I don't want to
is
keep
it
you guys for
actually
the
going
game.
to tip off? Is it
Oh,
really?
true. I don't know. I was just
Either way, I
looking and
should
I saw
hop
them go
off
to
and get
commercial, so I'm
ready.
not sure. So we
But
can't get out. Anyways, anything else you want to say before we dip on out of here?
uh here's hoping that the Celtics don't completely collapse today. It's
I hope so. We'll have to see. Embiid might score 100. A lot of people said it in the chat. Anyways, we appreciate y'all for tuning in. Thank you very much. Landon saying grants at 14 this month. We go month to month. I can go with that. We can keep a run with that. Thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate it. Check us out on Twitter. Those are below our faces in the corner. Nice little new bubbles there StreamYard has for us. Peace to everybody. Love you all. Thank you very much. As Lewis said, it's just basketball. We're just having fun out here. Thanks, guys, but nobody needs PP. Agree to disagree, Andrew. We love y'all in New York, too. Check us out on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Thank you guys very much. We're going to be live tomorrow for trade deadline. Tim, I don't know if you can join us. You said you could?
I am potentially. I'm like a coin flip right now. I got to figure out what's happening.
No worries.
I plan on being there.
Perfect. Well, regardless, people will be here. People will be live on this channel for trade deadline, so you guys can come tune in. Thank you guys very much for joining us. We will be back tomorrow for trade deadline. That will be out as a pod as well the day after, and then we have the Hornets game on Friday where we will be live 30 minutes before the contest. Thank you guys so much. See you guys later. Peace on.